Hi guys, welcome to the Tech Career Booster channel. My name is Josh Ballardine, and in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about how you can use Agile, Scrum, and Jira to actually boost your learning progress while you are becoming a software developer. So if you are in the process of changing your career, or if you are learning how to become a software developer, this video can help you to boost your progress. And the way to do that is using Agile methods, Scrum framework, and Jira as a tool to actually get there. Let's move on to it. First thing I want to talk about is Scrum. You probably have heard about Scrum already. If you want to become a software developer, Scrum is one of the most used Agile methodologies, and you're probably going to be using that as a team. So this video is not about Scrum itself, but I want to show you how Scrum works and how you can use the same methodology the teams are using to build their projects. You can use that methodology to actually guide your studies. So it's going to guide you through the process while you are becoming a software developer. You can use the same methodology. In that way, you're going to be learning both. You're going to be learning how to code. At the same time, you're going to be learning the methodology. So it's double gain. It's a no-brain decision. You can take this way, and I'm pretty sure it's going to take you there faster. So first things first, let's see what Scrum is and how does that work. I want to share my screen with you guys in a second. Here it is. This graph, it is from scrum.org, as you guys can see, and it demonstrates how the Scrum framework works. So I'm going to briefly explain that. As I mentioned before, the goal for this video is not to explain Scrum and go deep into that, but I'm going to give you a brief explanation so you can use that in your day-to-day learning tasks. First thing for Scrum is a framework, so it has a set of tools available for you to use in your team in order to build a project. These tools, they are available for you to use and change that. That's why it's called framework, because you can actually use some parts of it, or you can use all of it. I definitely recommend you starting using everything, and once you learn, you can actually check what fits better for your team or for yourself. So let's start in talking about the product backlog. What the product backlog is, it is a list of tasks you have to do to complete a project or to achieve some goal. So talking about Scrum, you have a product backlog, which is everything you have to do. And then Scrum comes to one part called sprint planning. It has its own ceremonies. One of the ceremonies is called sprint planning. In the sprint planning, you're going to pick the tasks from the backlog, and you're going to decide what you're going to be doing the next sprint. What a sprint is a time frame. You're going to set how long is going to be your sprint. What a sprint is, it is a defined time frame. It's time boxed. So you're going to be working for a specific period of time. And it's usually 2 to 4 weeks for teams. You can adapt that to your team. You can even use like 1 week. So if you are learning, you can use like shorter sprints, for example, 1 week. I definitely recommend 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks is a good time to actually develop some tasks and then evaluate that. So a sprint is the time you're going to be working. And then when you finish a sprint, you're going to have some increment either to your piece of software or to your knowledge or whatever. So this is the Scrum process or the Scrum framework. Basically, what we have is a cycle with a few ceremonies. The ceremonies are sprint planning, sprint review, sprint retrospective, and daily Scrum. daily stand-up or daily meeting. These are the ceremonies. What are the artifacts we have? We usually have like a product backlog and a sprint backlog. A sprint backlog is a list of tasks you're going to be working during the sprint. And the backlog is the full list of tasks. What an increment is like how you are evolving, what is being delivered every sprint, or every time you do a cycle of work, you're going to be delivering something. Talking about software, it's a deliverable. It's something you're going to deliver with high value to your customer, to your clients, or to the users. When we talk about learning, that's what you are going to be doing. Increment is something to your knowledge. So you're going to be incrementing your knowledge. You're going to be incrementing your value to the market. Obviously, you are not going to work in a team. Probably you're going to work by yourself using that framework, using that methodology. And so when you are by yourself using that methodology, what I do recommend you to do is actually create your backlog, which is going to be a list of tasks for yourself, a list of things you want to do to achieve your learning goals, to achieve your main goal, which is become a software developer. So you get those tasks, and then you create a sprint backlog, which means what you're going to be able to do for the next 2 weeks. From that backlog, you start your sprint. You start to tackle those tasks. You start to do the things. And you're going to be checking every day what you have to do. And then by the end, you're going to review whatever you have done. You're going to review by yourself. You're going to see what you have achieved and what's the difference from you before the sprint and after the sprint. So that's going to be your increment. And once you review that, you can do a retrospective with yourself. What the retrospective is for you, the retrospective for you is going to be checking what you have done right and what was not so good over that process, over those 2 weeks you just finished. So you are going to check, you're going to look back for those 2 weeks you just finished and think of, okay, what has worked and what has not worked over those 2 weeks, and what you can continue doing for the next 2 weeks and what should stop doing for the next 2 weeks. It's basically a way to measure how you are progressing. It's basically a way to evaluate what you have been doing and what you should continue doing and what you should stop being doing. This is the process. It is simple to look at. It's a bit hard to do as a team when you don't know. When you know the process, when you know the framework, it gets easy. So it's easy to follow that. And it's a very good way to progress when you are creating software. Moving forward, I want to show to you guys Jira, which you are going to be using as a tool to actually implement that framework. So Jira is the tool which is going to help you to get your backlogs, get the tasks, work on them, see the progress over a board, and then by the end of the sprint, you can see everything you have finished and do your retrospectives, your reviews, and even write some documentation in Confluence if you want. So let me share the screen again, and you're going to understand what I'm talking about. This is Jira. It's a software from Atlassian. It's very famous in Australia. It's famous all over the world, but there are some competitors. There are other tools. I do recommend Jira, one because it's from Australia, and another one because it's free up to 10 users. So you're going to come to atlassian.com or just Google Jira, and you're going to get straight to this website. You can create your own account. I'm not going to go through the process of creating an account now. That's not the purpose of this video. But I want to go straight into it and show you how the tool is internally. So this is my board. It's empty. There is nothing here because I didn't start. I just create an account to show you guys how you can use that. So if we get back to the process, you're going to understand the first thing to do is actually create a backlog. In this case, it's not going to be a product backlog, it's going to be your own backlog of learning. So we have here in the project one item called the backlog. So first thing, we're going to come to backlog. You're going to see probably you already have sprint 1. It's going to be created automatically to you, and you're going to have your backlog. We can come here and create issues. They call issues the list of items in the backlog. And the issues can be tasks, stories, and bugs. We're talking about software development, so it makes sense to have bugs here. You're not going to be using bugs probably. You're probably going to be using tasks and stories. And obviously, it's completely up to you how you're going to differentiate stuff. But as a recommendation, I would say you could use tasks for things you have to do, but you don't have coding. And you can use stories for things you're going to be coding. For example, studying exercises and things you're going to be creating code for. So let's think of a task you're going to be doing. Let's say you want to learn JavaScript functions, and then you were using like an online tool. In previous videos, I've mentioned to you guys some online platforms you could be using to learn. So you're going to go to that platform and see what I want to cover in the next 2 weeks, or what I want to cover up to the end of the course. So you can come here and create tasks for that. Let's say watch JavaScript functions video. That's going to be one task. Then another task could be do JavaScript functions exercise. And these ones, you're going to have code, so you can change that to task instead of, you can change that to a task instead of, change that to a story instead of a task. So you can change this to a story here. You also can see, you can have a description, and you can add way more information here. You can add a link to that video. You can add the exercises themselves. You can even attach files here. So it's a pretty handy tool, and it gets everything you need to actually tackle a task or tackle a story. So you're going to be coming here and creating your own backlog. Let's create a few tasks and things here. Another thing you want to be covering that, talking about learning, we're not going to be talking only about watching videos and doing exercise here, but we're going to be creating a few JavaScript objects video. Also JavaScript objects exercise. You also want to attend a meetup. Attend a meetup about software development career, which is gonna happen close to you. Another task could be update LinkedIn profile. You also could be doing create LinkedIn article about my learnings from previous week. That's all things you could be doing in the next sprint or so. So basically in the backlog, you're going to add everything you want to do. When it comes to planning, if we get back to the backlog, you can come to your planning. So you can do your planning every 2 weeks. Let's start to talk about times and when you're going to do stuff. Backlog, you can create tasks whenever you want. Whenever you remember you want to do something, whenever you come up with something you want to do, you're going to come to here and add that to your backlog. So you're going to add things to the backlog on the fly. All the time you know you have to do something, you come to the backlog and add whatever you want to do, you add that to the backlog so you won't forget it. The backlog is going to be always increasing, so we're always going to be creating tasks for your backlog. Then when it comes to planning, I do recommend you do that every 2 weeks. So every single sprint, you're going to have one planning. The planning is going to be when you come to your backlog. Let's pretend that we are in a planning meeting now. So you're going to look at your tasks. You're going to prioritize them. You're going to say, oh, I want to do this first, and I want to do that later. And then once you have your tasks prioritized, you can actually come here and see, okay, for the next sprint, I want to do all these tasks, or I want to do a few tasks, or you're going to select the ones you want to do. And then you will move them, and then you actually move them to your sprint. So you move them to the backlog. You can notice the backlog is empty now because I didn't leave anything there. And they are all in the sprint one, but the sprint didn't start yet. So that's our planning. That's when you're going to understand the tasks. Also, you can get every single task during the planning and go deeper in that to understand that and to fulfill the ticket here. So if you open that new tab, you're going to see you have a lot of more fields here, which you can fill to actually know what you are doing. So you come to here, you're going to put the description, you're going to put comments, you're going to grab all the information you need to actually do this ticket. Let's say if it's watch JavaScript functions video, you're going to come up here and put the link to the video. You're going to come to here and put what you have learned from the video later, so you can be updating this ticket on the fly. Once it's updated, you have everything prepared. You are ready to start your sprint. So you hit the start sprint button. Usually we're going to have 2 weeks sprint. It's going to finish. It's going to start today. Today is the 8th of August, and we're going to finish that in 2 weeks. So that's our sprint. And you also should be defined your sprint goal. Don't leave that blank. You can do that, but I definitely recommend you to come up with a goal. I would say that's the most important part of the planning. What's your goal? Because sometimes it's okay to not finish all the tasks you have in the sprint, but you have to try as much as you can to achieve your goal. So let's say the sprint goal here is actually learn functions and write a LinkedIn article. That's the sprint goal. That's what you're gonna aim for. If you can't finish everything, it's all right, but you're gonna aim for at least to achieve your goal. And that's the way you can follow your progress. So don't leave the goal blank. Try to fill that up as much as you can, and then you're going to start your sprint. So now you have your goal defined, you have your backlog. If you come back to the chart, so we are actually starting our sprint. So we come from the backlog, you have done your planning, which is a ceremony, you end up with a sprint backlog, which is what you can see in the board. So if you come to board here, you're going to see all your tasks in the to-do list. And then you are ready to start your sprint. So you are going to be working the sprint on daily basis. So for the next 2 weeks, you're going to be coming here. Let's say, I'm going to watch the video, whatever it is. If you're going to YouTube or whatever, you're going to come to here, watch your video. And then while you're doing that, you're going to move the task to in progress. So you are working this task. Once you feel it's finished, you're going to move this task to done, and that's done. You don't need to worry with that anymore. But then you have the exercise to do. So you're going to move the exercise to here. And then you're going to come and do your exercise. So sandbox, JavaScript, exercise. You're going to be doing that wherever it is. You're going to be doing exercise, your tool. Once the exercises are done and you are happy with that, you can attach them to the ticket. So you can come to the ticket, actually edit that. When you edit the ticket, you can attach files. You can add comments for yourself to understand what you're doing, or even to check that later. Let's say after 3 months working on that, you want to check, what I've done there, what was my thoughts at that time. So you're going to have everything in your comments here. And once you're happy with that, you're going to move that to done. And that's the way you're going to go with all your tasks. So you're going to be moving everything in progress, done, in progress, done. And remember, your main goal was to understand functions and create the LinkedIn article. So you are working on that as well. And then you finish and you publish that. You started to watch the objects video, but then let's say we got to the end of the 2 weeks. So we're going to come to your planning again. Let's move for the 2 weeks, and let's pretend you are on 22nd of or whatever. You are 2 weeks after you started. So you are going to come back to your backlog and check whatever you have to do. So if you have filled your backlog with other tasks, other video 2, then you're going to have exercise at 1, and then learn how to improve my communication skills. There are going to be all your learning tasks here. You're going to be able to create the next sprint. So you can come here and create sprint 2. So Scrum sprint 2 is created. You have other tasks in your backlog. You can move a few of them to your new sprint. So move to sprint 2. So I have a few tasks here. I left one task in the backlog because I don't want to tackle that. Let's pretend you have finished your 2 weeks. And once you finish your 2 weeks, you can come to here and complete the sprint, even though you don't have finished all the tasks. Don't worry about that. Obviously, you're going to try as much as you can to finish everything you think you were able to finish, but if you couldn't, it's all right. Come here, complete sprint. It's going to tell you 4 tasks were completed, 3 is still open. They're going to be moved to sprint 2. So complete sprint and move your tasks to the next one. Once you do that, you won't have any board, but you're going to go to your backlog, and then you're going to see only the sprint 2. Sprint 1 is gone, it's finished. You still have your backlog. You have sprint 2 with the ones you have added to that, plus the ones from previous sprint. And then you can start sprint. Start sprint again, same thing. This sprint is going to start 2 weeks after. You're going to define your goal for sprint 2. Start it. And then you have just started your second sprint. If we get back to our graph, you're going to understand that's the cycle. It's going to be happening all the time. And that's going to bring you increments every 2 weeks. In that way, you can actually check your progress. I forgot to mention, when you finish the 2 weeks, you should be doing the other 2 ceremonies. One is actually review. So as you are working by yourself only, you actually should be checking what you have achieved. And if you can show that to someone, I think it's helpful. Let's say if you have a partner, or if you have your kids, or if you have a friend, you can show that too. Not all the time people are interested in seeing that, but if you can, I think it's helpful to you to actually show what you have achieved in the previous 2 weeks. It's gonna help you to fix your learnings. So whatever you have learned, it's gonna fix in your mind when you try to show that to someone and to explain that to someone. That's the sprint review. The sprint review is to show off whatever you are proud of have done. So you are proud of having done an exercise or a task, or whatever you have done over the sprint. you're going to show that to someone. If you don't have anyone to show that, you can try to show it to yourself. Just try to review that and check what you have done and check if you have learned something. What's your increment? What you have achieved over those 2 weeks. That's the sprint review. And also we have the other ceremony, which is the retrospective. Retrospective is actually the learnings you got from the process. So the difference between the sprint review and the sprint retrospective is one is made for looking at the job you have done. The sprint review is for looking at the job you have done. Whatever you have learned, it was like a learning sprint, so you have learned stuff. If it was a task, if it was a software, you should be reviewing the piece of software you have finished. You should be showing the software and the usage of the software you have finished. That's the review. And when we talk about retrospective, it's a learning ceremony about the process. So in the retrospective, you're going to be checking your process. You're going to be checking what you have done right and what you have done wrong. What you think, that week I've tried to do exercise at night and it was not a good thing, so I'm going to change the time I'm doing exercise. Or in the previous week, I've put like 5 different subjects to learn, but I was only able to learn 3. So for the next sprint, I'm not going to put too much subjects again. That's the sort of thing we do in the sprint retrospective. We also check in the sprint retrospective what you have done from the framework, which was not good. So as I mentioned, the Scrum is a framework. So if you look at this graph, this framework has ceremonies, it has artifacts, it has time frames and stuff, which you can be adapting to your reality. So on the retrospective, you're going to check things you have done, and you're going to be adapting that to your reality. You're going to see, okay, maybe I don't need daily Scrum because I'm working just by myself. I don't need to have a meeting with myself. So you are going to skip the daily Scrum. Daily Scrum is a short meeting. When you are working a team, in that short meeting, it can't be more than 15 minutes, and the whole team has to say 3 things in that meeting. Basically, everyone in the team is going to say what I have done yesterday, what I'm planning to do today, and what are the road blockers. So what's blocking me? These 3 things needs to be explained by everyone in the team. As you are working by yourself, you can think of that, but probably you don't need to explain that yourself. Definitely, I recommend you to think of that and even write it down. So what you have done yesterday, what you're planning to do today, and if you have any road blocker. If you have any road blocker, obviously you're going to have to sort it out. And that's what's supposed to happen in the daily Scrum. But as I was talking about the retrospective, you're going to be checking if it's needed for you. You're going to be checking if you need to create your backlog in advance or if you can create your backlog on the fly. So all that sort of stuff, you're going to be checking the retrospective. And then you come back to a planning, and then all the processes start again. I know you are probably thinking now, but that can be overwhelming. Why am I going to do all that process? Why I don't just go to the course and try to do beginning to the end? It is one way to do, and this process, it's not made to be overwhelming. This process, it's made to be helpful. Obviously, it's going to be helping teams, but it's also going to help your mind to learn and to see your progress. So as a mindset, I think this tool is pretty helpful to make you feel you are progressing, to make you feel you are getting somewhere when you are getting there. So that's basically the tool I wanted to show you today, guys. And the advantages of using that, I would say, it's basically the flexibility you're going to have over the process and the flexibility you're going to have to actually see what you're going to learn, see what you're going to do. And that flexibility comes with the planning. So every time you're going to go to planning, every time you're going to go to a planning session, you're going to be checking, okay, what's my goal for the next 2 weeks? Obviously, you should not forget the full picture. You should not forget what you're trying to learn, what you are trying to achieve, but you should be checking every 2 weeks as well. So it makes it very easy to you to actually change gears, to actually adapt yourself. So the adaptability of this process is pretty good. In the same time, you can adapt stuff. You can also have a structured and prioritized learning way. It's going to be your learning path. So it keeps your mind free of be worrying what I have to do next, what I have to do next. You don't have to worry with that because you have everything planned. You spend some time planning that at the beginning, a couple of hours. You don't need more than that, maybe less than a couple of hours, just 1 hour should be enough. And then you're going to be planning what you're going to do in the next 2 weeks. But once you plan that and put that in a tool, you don't have to worry with that anymore. You don't have to think of what I should do now, what I'm supposed to be doing now, what I'm supposed to do this time, what I'm supposed to do at the moment to actually study, which video I should watch, which exercise I should do. Should I do something different, not just watching videos? I should do some integration with the community. Should I be learning a blog post? Should I be attending a meetup? Should I be involved in the community? All those things you don't have to think of. You just plan ahead, put in the tool and forget it. You're just going to go to the list and see next task, next task, next task. And that's all. It's structured and it's prioritized because you're going to prioritize the most important tasks. That was all I had to you today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have learned something and I hope you can actually structure your studies from now on. If you like this video, don't forget to share it with someone and leave your thumbs up. That's very helpful for us. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.